Hey there. Thanks for watching the DMZ America podcast. I'm editorial cartoonist Ted Rall coming to you from the left.
And I'm editorial cartoonist Scott Stantis coming from you from the decimated, what used to be the conservative or the right.
And over on the right side of your screen is Salt Lake City Tribune editorial cartoonist and our colleague and friend, Pat Bagley.
Hey, good to see you guys.
Good to see you, Pat. It's been a long time. Where are you these days?
I'm just outside of Lisbon, Portugal, and I noticed that Scott has got the Portuguese flag in the background.
Right at you, man.
Yeah.
Always prepared with our resident vexologist is always prepared.
Yeah, always. How long have you been there?
4 months.
Now, before we get into the cartooning and showing your work and talking all things cartooning, I want to tell our audience, some of us talk the talk, but then there's some of us who actually walk the walk. I've been talking about moving to Portugal since 2017 and talked 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 and then talk some more. Pat actually has done it. Now, you visited Portugal a number of times and you were having the same thoughts in 2017, correct? That's what motivated you to move.
Oh yeah, it was actually on election eve, 2016, that I originally thought Spain because they speak Spanish, but then I eventually thought, well, what's wrong with Portugal? I would like to see the sun set over the ocean in the west, and Portugal's right there. So I started to visit with my wife, and we loved it.
And now, so is moving there, I mean, is being an expat, there's so many questions I have, but just moving there, just technically, is it hard to move? I mean, because you were living in Salt Lake City, which is probably one of my favorite American cities, by the way. I love Salt Lake.
It's a great place, yeah.
So that must have been difficult because you weren't born there, but you were actually you were raised in Oceanside, California. I did not know your dad was the mayor of Oceanside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Was that good or bad for you when you were?
No, it was good because we always had the news on all the time, and there were at least 2 or 3 newspapers in the house. Dad was always reading. He was a good role model that way. So I got my politics by osmosis. I just kind of absorbed it. I remember bugging him one day about political cartoons and having to make him explain, what that meant, what that was all about. And he would go,
those guys.
Then he would explain the cartoon.
Sounds like every editor I ever worked for.
But Pat, what about the logistics, right? Were you a Portuguese or European? Did you have an EU passport or access to an EU passport before you moved? How did it work? I mean, and of course I want to work backwards as to your motivation, like why you decided to do it. But just logistically following up on Scott, like, for someone who wants to do this, how did they do it?
So if you hear about the golden visa, don't bother with that because they've eliminated it. And it was a bad idea to begin with. It was catering to the rich, and people still think it's in there, but it's not part of the equation.
Well, that's for people coming to the U.S. Yeah.
No, that's going there, moving there.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Trump borrowed the idea from what we had here.
Okay,
Italy, Spain, Portugal, they had this golden visa to attract people with money here, and then it turned out to be a real disaster. And so they've eliminated it. There's no more golden visa. Okay. And so I had to get a what's called a D7 visa, which is a passive income visa. So I'm getting Social Security. I'm still getting payments for my cartoons, but that's coming from the US. I'm not making any money here in Portugal. I'm not taking jobs away from Portuguese.
Drawing the cartoons.
So you have to certify, and you have to be able to certify and prove that you have this American external income.
Yeah, you do. Mm-hmm.
And but you're still taxed in the United States, yeah?
Yeah, well, I'll be taxed here in Portugal as well.
The United States is one of only 2 countries in the world that does that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think Myanmar is the other one.
Yeah.
As goes Myanmar.
Yeah.
So it was hard in the sense that I had lived in Salt Lake City for 40 years, lived in the same house for 35 years.
Hmm.
And so, selling the house and going through all the stuff that you've accumulated over all that time. And it was hard, it's emotionally hard. Logistically, it was difficult. It's not easy, but if you plug away at it,
were you able to bring furniture and shit? Or like when my mom came from France to the United States, she just brought one trunk, like one steam trunk.
Well, I've got a picture of me with all the stuff that I brought here, and it's 8 boxes, 8 suitcases full of stuff. And what I mostly brought was art, clothes, incidentals, stuff that meant a lot to me. But as far as furniture, I got lucky and was able to. I actually bought this furniture from people who had moved to Salt Lake from Portugal, and they had to get rid of their furniture, and so I lucked into this. And it's furniture that's just way above my pay grade, but I was able to get it for a dime on the dollar.
That's
Nice.
fantastic.
Nice.
So what happens if you were to lose your passive income in the United States? Let's say Social Security were eliminated. Would you have to leave?
No. I mean, I do have savings, so I could stay here.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to prove that I had the income to get into the country.
And then once you get there, you can totally slough off and live the Hunter Biden lifestyle.
What about the health system? Can you buy into that, or
Yeah,
how's
good
that
question.
work?
Oh, yeah, I just talked to my nurse. I don't know. I bought into the system where they speak English and they guide you through the health system here, and they will set up appointments with doctors and dentists, and they'll take care of all of that. But I was here on one of my vacation, one of my visits, and I came down with norovirus. And I was in the bathroom, and if you know norovirus, it just hits like a freight train. And so I went in to shower, and I went from thinking about what I'm going to do for lunch to lying on the floor of the bathroom.
Whoa.
Passed
That
out.
is the Hunter Biden lifestyle.
So the hospital, over my objection, called the paramedics. And so I was taken to the hospital in an ambulance. We get there, they do the EKG. I was given 4 sessions of x-rays, 2 MRIs. They kept me overnight for observation. And all this other stuff, incidental stuff that they did for me. And I thought, this is going to bankrupt me. And I asked the doctor, as I'm being discharged, how do I pay for this? And she said, I don't know, we're a socialist medical community. Then I got a bill 3 or 4 months later from the government, and the whole thing was €350, which is, I'm happy to pay that.
Yeah, not a problem.
And the medical care was top notch. The amenities were bare bones. The waiting room is not like a Marriott, but the people who treat you are very well qualified.
Let me send you to an ER in New York City, Pat. So, what about the language? I mean, Portuguese is, I assume you don't speak Portuguese. You said you spoke Spanish.
So I speak Spanish, which helps, but Portuguese is not Spanish.
Right.
And so I've been learning Portuguese. And sometimes it's frustrating because it's hard. But, I can get by. I can hold my own in a discussion. But I'm still learning every day.
So going back to what Ted was alluding to too, your motivation to move there. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Oh, well, like I say, it was the night of the 2016 election, and it was complete disaster. And I remember probably getting a little drunk, but standing in my kitchen and thinking, Spain, I can't stay here.
I mean, this sounds like, what exactly were you worried about or concerned about or upset about or whatever?
Oh, with Trump?
Yeah.
Well, he's an idiot. He's malignant. He's a fascist, and he's one of the worst people on two legs on the planet. And it's been borne out with almost all of his actions. But I just knew that it was bad for the United States. I had some hope in 2020 when Biden won, but they just ramped up the pressure. And I happened to be here in Portugal during the last election, 2024. And my Portuguese friends texted me and they said, we just have no words. We're so sorry. Portugal experienced fascism.
Right.
There was Salazar, the dictator, who was in power from 1930 to 1974.
Mm-hmm.
So they know fascism, and they're done with it. They've had it.
So, I mean, is this a matter? Were you personally concerned that you would be impacted, or your ability to do your work would be impacted, or was it more like sort of like the country is going to go to hell and I just don't want to be part of it? Or was it like I'm voting with my feet and I'm expressing my disapproval? Or is it something else, or a combination of those? I mean, people say they're going to leave when a president is elected who they don't like. Alec Baldwin keeps doing it, but most people don't. People do. I mean, you're not alone. Other people have left, but a guy in my apartment building left after this election. But what were you, what were you thinking? It's one thing to be like I was really pissed off when George W. Bush became president, but I didn't, but I didn't think I need to leave, or something bad could happen to me, or, you know what I mean? Like, it just didn't cross my mind. So what was your thought process there?
I mean, we all get people who are unhappy with our cartoons,
For sure.
But the level of threat that I felt from people writing to me and saying things like, you just wait till we get in power, we're coming after you. They know enough not to make a direct death threat, but they let me know that they had guns and that they weren't happy with me, and calling me a Marxist and a communist, and so they felt perfectly justified in their own mind to somehow stop what I do. And as the years went on from 2016, it just got worse. And so by the time that I finally moved here, I was concerned about my personal safety.
That was my question. Do you think it's worse in Utah than maybe in in another state?
Well, there's a thing called Utah Nice, where everybody's really nice in Utah, very pleasant. But that's also where Charlie Kirk was killed. And because everybody has guns. And the thing about the Kirk killing is they tried to make it political. But the kid who shot him was brought up in a culture where they heard that you have guns to take down tyranny. So guns have been a part of the culture, and it's a legitimate use of speech, I guess, if you don't agree with somebody. And so, again, I wasn't directly threatened, but it just takes one, and there are more guns in Utah than there are people.
Yeah, that just happened. Actually, nationally, we just passed that. I'm not sure if you guys know this. It's a news story the last few days. More guns in the U.S. than people.
Yeah,
I thought that happened a long time ago. I had heard that at one time there were 8 guns for every man, woman, and child in the United States.
Apparently, according to the stories that floated,
I don't know.
But you can't trust the press. Jesus, come on.
I don't go around counting them. I don't know. I have no idea. So Pat, let me ask you a tough question, and then we'll start looking at some not a mean question, a tough question. We'll look at some of your cartoons for this week. And some of Scott's as well. Is it hard? Like I did cartoons for the LA Times when I didn't live in LA, and I did cartoons for other cities not living there, and I always felt like it was a little hard to not feel as connected to the place where I was drawing about, as if you lived there, obviously you can coast on the fumes. You went to Brigham Young. You're a Salt Lake dude through and through. You can coast on this for a long time, maybe the rest of your life. But I'm just wondering, do you feel at all disconnected from Salt Lake City, drawing cartoons from the other side of the Atlantic Ocean?
No, that's one of the funny things. I thought I would, but I'm still in contact with my friends. I mean, the wonder of modern technology.
Yeah.
I still talk to the people at the Salt Lake Tribune regularly.
Were they upset?
Well, what happened was when I told them I was going to move to Portugal, they said, we can't have you as a full-time cartoonist on our payroll working outside the country. It was a policy. But they also said, what we can do is you can work as a freelance cartoonist and we will buy your cartoons. And so we came to an agreement, and that worked out pretty well. So I'm not on the payroll, but I'm still getting a fairly good income from the Salt Lake Tribune.
And why couldn't they keep you on the payroll? I mean, there's no legal reason.
It's we have a union at the Salt Lake Tribune.
Well,
And
that's
it's actually in the bylaws of the union. You got to live in the States.
Really?
Oh, that's part of the union contract.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So you feel like with the internet and everything, I mean, hell, you can listen to Salt Lake City radio online, right? I mean,
I do. I mean, I listen to the NPR station, the local one, all the time.
So it feels easy to stay connected. When did you make the move?
I actually flew out here July 4th.
Okay, so you haven't been back since then. That was
No.
your Independence Day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And all right. Well, so shall we look at some Pat Bagley
Absolutely.
cartoons? I pulled some up from this week. I don't think there's any. So I will warn you, Pat, that this interface is quirky, as Scott knows. So hopefully this will work out okay. Okay,
That's it.
here we go. Cool.
Okay, so this is a local cartoon, and the Salt Lake County Commission decided that they were going to close some daycare centers to save money, right? And people got pretty upset about that. And the Salt Lake County Council is overwhelmingly Republican. And they want you to go out and have a lot of kids, but they don't want to make it easy. And anybody who's got kids knows that it's expensive. And so this is a kind of inside baseball cartoon.
Oh, I love it. It's also, I mean, it's true, and that's where arguments for people who support pro-life. Well, and you got to be pro-life after the person comes out of the womb as well as prior. And it just seems that the politicians are like, once you're in this world, you're on your own. Get your little baby bootstraps and pull them up.
Well, you've heard the old joke that life begins at conception but ends at birth.
Let's see another one.
So that's that.
Yeah.
cartoon.
All right. Let's. Sorry, I'm finagling here with. I told you it was quirky. Maybe I'm just quirky.
No, I'm amazed you got this one up.
Now you're drawing on an iPad?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Did you always draw with a pencil though? Because your work has always had kind of this pencil-ish looking.
I used to draw with kind of a magic marker kind of thing, and then they stopped making those, so I started going to pencil, which I liked. And so, yeah, I'm on an iPad, but it's got that pencil function that works out pretty good.
Yeah, I tried that when long story short, went out with some friends. They had an iPad. She was an artist. She showed me what she was doing on it. I literally, after that lunch, walked over to a Best Buy and bought an iPad and downloaded Procreate and said, I'm going to give myself 6 months to learn how to do this live. So I would go back to when I was teaching myself how to use it, and the cartoons I was producing then were just awful. I'm not sure I ever totally got it. I've gone back to, I still draw on an iPad, but I draw with, it looks like pen and ink now, again, old
Oh,
school.
really?
Yeah, but your stuff, I mean, you're all in and you do it really, really well. I mean,
Well, thank you.
it totally works. This cartoon, obviously the Democrats being the Charlie Brown character, I like that she's already pulled the ball up. That's a funny little detail.
Well, I mean, there's the whole thing about the Republicans promising something and then not coming through. And the thing that we cartoonists automatically go to is Lucy pulling away the football, right? And so that was my first inclination but that's just, everybody's going to do that. And you go, this is actually more like Lucy's not actually putting the ball down at all, but the Democrats still fall for it.
I know. I'm going. This is a political discussion now. And we're just real quick. Dick Durbin, the senior senator from Illinois, was one of the senators who voted to pass the spending bill. And his motivation, first of all, he's a lame duck. He's not running for re-election, so he has this luxury. But his motivation was that real people, were really going to suffer with no SNAP money, with the ACA, which they still haven't resolved, but the other systems in place to support poor people who are in need, was really going to cause some very serious pain. And Dick Durbin's motivation was, I don't want them to go through that pain, and they don't have to. But that seems to hold no water with a lot of Democratic critics of this move. And so I just want to hear someone like yourself, what you say to someone who, like Dick Durbin.
Well, the Democrats were winning the shutdown. Trump, that very morning or that same day, he'd been booed by 40,000 people in a stadium. The Democrats had swept the table in the previous elections, a couple of days before, and the pressure was on the Republicans to cave and give into giving back the ACA subsidies for insurance. And it was really on them. And the Democrats just gave it all away for nothing.
Why do you think they did that?
They're wealthy donors.
I guess the question is, as a liberal, if I may call you such, what is the reason to vote Democratic? I mean, in the United States, I mean, it's like, my mom died 5 years ago, and I still, before she died, she suffered from dementia. So I had her mail forwarded to me so I could pay her bills and stuff. I still get her mail. And and a lot of her mail is from the Democratic Party. Send us money so we can fight. Red ink, drop shadow, Gothic lettering, fight the Republicans. And I'm like, you guys never fight, ever. And I guess I was like Jon Stewart, really surprised this time, because first of all, they, like you said, Pat, they were winning. This is like the Allies arriving in the bunker in Berlin in 1945 and surrendering to Hitler. I mean, it's like they were winning. The polls showed they were winning. It's quantifiable. And they just crapped it up. I mean, it's like the Democrats are trying to spin this now, saying, well, this is a win. We raised the issue.
Yeah.
Oh, you raised the issue. And it's kind of like, vote for us. And I mean, it's kind of like, well, I mean, I'm sorry. So the thing is, the ACA is the only significant Democratic legislative achievement of the last half century. And why on earth would you give that up? Because this will destroy the ACA. If the whole thing's going to collapse next year. It was barely hanging on by a thread, right? And it's going to drag the private insurance company system down with it to some extent too. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I think Luigi had the right idea. He was fighting. But Democrats, when they say why should anyone vote for them? They don't do anything, even when they can win. I mean, would you still vote Democratic after this fiasco?
Yeah, because
Why?
all the other options are worse.
What's the difference? You get the same result no matter what.
America's tried third parties. What we need is for progressives, real liberals, real Democrats to take back the Democratic Party. Centrism is not working. And, this is not a normal time in our politics. And there are a lot of Democrats who realize that. AOC, Bernie Sanders has always been, pretty aware of all this. So there are people out there that you can vote for that will push the agenda forward, that will fight. And
if you live in Vermont or Queens.
Well, it was only 8.
And by the way, we did vote for
senators.
Bernie Sanders, and the DNC didn't let us have him.
True. But there were only 8 Democratic senators. And by and large, the Democratic Party was standing firm. Again,
we all know Mitch
they
McConnell
switched, they caved.
secretly told those 8 that they had permission not to go along.
Yeah.
The Democrats
Mitch
choked.
McConnell, wait. Mitch McConnell's the Republican.
Not Mitch McConnell. Chuck Schumer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I apologize. I apologize that, but I don't want to impugn Mitch McConnell with that level of perfidy.
Heavens, no.
But I mean, they had permission, right? I mean, my impression is that they choked because of they were worried that they were going to take the heat for the shutdown in the aviation system as the holiday arrived, even though there was no sign that they were going to be blamed.
Well, but there you go, because every single one of the Democratic senators who voted to end the shutdown were getting money from the airline industry. So they were getting pressure, not from the constituency, but from the people who own them. Right.
So again, since the Democrats are owned by major transnational corporations, you get vote Democrat or Republican, you get Republican policies regardless. Right? Am I missing something?
Every single Republican I know is on the take. They're all part of, taking money from big business, and there's no hope for the Republican Party. There is hope for the Democratic Party in that there are people who care about the American people, who really do care about healthcare, who care about affordability, who really want to do good things. And you don't find that with Republicans,
Scott, care to chime in on that?
Well, I'm sorry. I worked in Illinois for a decade and still draw for the Tribune, and I'm sorry. That's not exclusive to the Republican Party, pal. I'm sorry. That's both sides have their hands out and are making bank from this stuff. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, who I understand was a high-ranking Democrat, I could be wrong, but made $8 million a year as Speaker of the House. Now, again, I looked it up, and that's not the base salary.
The fact is, but she was independently wealthy before she ran,
and became considerably more wealthy afterwards. There are a whole list of Congress people Democrats and Republicans, who make scads of money from insider trading is insane. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, obviously not a Democrat, but she made $4.5 million last year. I mean, really? I'm just saying that this is, you talk about gerrymandering or you talk about corruption. So, and the Republicans don't have a corner on that. Believe me.
No, they absolutely don't. But if you want to find any people who really care about government service, who care about actually serving the nation, I think it's overwhelmingly still in the Democratic Party. Like you say, it's not perfect. And there's plenty of corruption within the Democratic Party, but I don't know where else you go.
Well, I think he goes. I've advocated for a long time for third parties, and because the two-party system, the duopoly has really made it extremely difficult to have a third party. You couldn't even have a moderate third party come on in any serious way. The Libertarian Party in 2016 worked its ass off and spent a lot of resources trying to get on all 50 ballots, only to be, have the Hillary campaign come out and try to crush the candidates then. Gary Johnson and his running mate, the former governor of Massachusetts, Weld.
Romney?
I mean, no, Weld.
Well,
Bill Weld. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, to your point, I think you're right, by the way. I think the response by the DNC this past election cycle, where they did quite well, Mamdani obviously in New York City, but also the governorships of New Jersey and Virginia, and did very comfortably. But the governorships, those were moderate. Those were the types of Democrats that Ted Rall hates.
True.
Because they are moderate. But I think the DNC's response to all of that was, we're a big tent party. And now, this will be no surprise to everybody, I've said this before, old man alert. The Democratic Party used to have George Wallace, Lester Maddox, but it also had George McGovern. You could have a party that spanned those two ideas, and there's a full-throated debate within those parties. Republicans, believe it or not, I have a button from the 1988 Republican convention that reads "Republicans for Choice."
Yeah. No, yeah.
So-
I mean, Romney's father, George Romney, was a Republican. There was Hatfield, who was a liberal Republican. There were lots of liberal Republicans back in the day, but it's not our father's Republican Party anymore.
So do you think that by smearing, say calling the Democratic Party socialist and so on, does that have any traction anymore? I mean, again, a couple of old guys, trio of old guys here, but I remember some of the failures of European socialism, but I don't think that has the legs that it used to.
Well, I hope it doesn't, because I was censured by the entire congressional delegation of Utah.
Woot.
And they called me Marxist, they called me socialist, and and it's scare words, scare terms.
Are you? No, I'm serious. I mean,
are you now, or have you ever been?
You didn't like that. I'm just asking because Ted's a registered voter in France, and he votes communist. So
that's
okay. Yeah, I mean that's a legitimate party in Europe. They don't do very well, but most mainstream parties here are called socialist. So I would say that my politics most resemble George Orwell. And George Orwell was a democratic socialist till the day he died. And he wrote Animal Farm, 1984. It doesn't mean there in the United States what it means here. Like I say, most ruling parties here are probably socialist. And that just means that they care about people to the extent that they won't let rich oligarchs rip them off. In Portugal, they actually have workers' rights, which is just amazing.
Imagine.
Okay, let me turn on the light here.
That'll ruin everything.
But an article that just came out today in the Portugal newspapers mentioned that the Portuguese labor force is some of the worst paid labor force in Europe. So just want to throw that out as a thing.
Yeah, I mean, for forever, Portugal has been one of the poorest country in Western Europe. But actually, it is advancing. It's doing pretty well right now. Still, they have problems keeping the young people here because of the low pay.
Let's talk about this one. And and while we're looking at your cartoons, Pat, can you talk a little bit about your you're a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints, yeah? And
I'm retired, but
okay, you were.
I guess I'm still on the books.
Are you still a believer?
No.
Okay. Well, I mean, so like Steve Benson, our colleague from the Arizona Republic, died recently. He was famously had broken away from the Mormon Church. But I mean, that's you grew up in Utah. You went to college in Utah. You spent many, many years there. How does that inform your work in terms of in general?
Oh, so I've got the inside track on what's going on in Utah. The reason that I was the longest continuously employed cartoonist in America for the same newspaper for almost 45 years was because I had the pulse of Utah. I did the mission. I was a member growing up. I studied the history. I knew all about it. So that helped inform me about Utah and its politics and its people and its culture. and I'm still kind of skating on that.
No, I mean, I can see that. You know, as you know, in our profession in the 80s and 90s, there was a long period where staff cartoonists sort of jumped around like a CEO from one Fortune 500 company to the next, and just would parachute into, you know, Lansing or whatever, and just like, okay, well, I live in Lansing now, and but you know, that's different from someone who has intimate, long-standing roots in a community.
This cartoon, is this, I mean, is this the one that the Utah delegation decided to castigate you and call you names?
Oh, yeah. And it was the guy in the center who said, you know, he's actually not taking money during the shutdown. And so the thing is, between the time that I did the cartoon and it was published, the Tribune didn't really carry that article about, you know, these people refusing to be paid. So I missed it. This is a matter of timing.
Oh, man.
So, but I do have to say, I went back and I looked at the article in the Deseret News, our rival, that talked about this. And actually, they were being paid. They just weren't cashing the checks.
Oh, God.
Which is which is not the same position that
reminds me of like
were in.
When the NSA denied the Snowden allegations. They said, well, you know, we don't actually listen to all of the phone calls. We just collect them.
Yeah, that's not chilling at all.
So in other words, we don't, you know, I mean, I don't look at the photos I've taken of your wife taking a shower. I just have them. Mm-hmm. It's kind of insane. So how, you know, what is how is it working for the Tribune? Have they been, I mean, they must get pressure.
Oh, they do.
About you in Salt Lake City. I mean, you know, how supportive are they?
Oh, they're very supportive. There was a cartoon I did not too long ago where I put the headline of the cartoon that I put. It wasn't in the cartoon, but the headline I used was the Hole in the Head Gang, which is referring to the Hole in the Wall Gang, which is Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, and they had that gang in Utah. It was the Hole in the Wall Gang. And so I called them the Hole in the Head Gang, and it became this huge, just fuckery, where the right took that to mean that I was suggesting that they should be assassinated, right? Because, you know, hole in the head, which to me means if you have a hole, they were doing this.
Okay.
When I say you have to get a hole in the head, it means you're useless, right? You're kind of dumb.
Yeah. Of course. So talk to us about this cartoon.
Oh, this just came out today. So this is the lie that the conservatives have been telling for decades, is that people are going to come and take your guns. You know, they're going to show up on your doorstep and they're going to demand your guns. If you vote for a Democrat, this is what's going to happen. And this has been going on since the 70s, right? And nobody ever showed up to take their guns. And if you look at the logistics of trying to take away people's guns, we couldn't do it, right? We don't have enough people to go out and sweep the country to take people's guns. And then the next panel is the same people, you know, the same level of threat, but it's actually happening. You know, they're actually coming to grab people, to kidnap people and take them away. And these are the jackbooted thugs that they've been telling us about forever.
Yeah, that's for
well. To be fair, you know, they do. You know, ICE, for instance, is adamant about following due process. For instance. Oh wait, they believe in constitutional right. Oh shit.
Getting warmer.
This is a terrific cartoon. I mean, even this is when I have my conservative card revoked, is coming out against stuff like this, because this is bullshit. This is it's fascist. It is it's dangerous. And some people on the right, some like 2 or 3, will make the point, you know, you're not always going to be in charge. And do you want the opposing party that you hate so much, as you drew so wonderfully here, Pat, the liberal jackbooted deep state Gestapo to have this ability to do this. And I mean, it's terrifying what's happening in Chicago, for instance. They say it's far worse than we see. People are scared to death.
Oh,
I have
sure.
friends who run food pantries for people. And, these assholes show up all the time. No warrant, no badges, no identification. I still can't quite understand how they're allowed to do that. No one's been able to explain to me. Fact is, no one's covering it. And Ted and I had one of the most prolific, not prolific, prosaic conversations about this. I said, why is no one, because there's a picture, real quick, there's a picture of an ICE agent in Chicago, Pat. It was run in the Chicago Tribune. And this guy was not wearing a stitch of government issued clothing. He was literally wearing a souvenir T-shirt from a Texas Rangers game. It was, obviously honoring servicemen. His vest did not fit. It covered up about this much of his big fat belly. And I asked Ted, why is no one covering this? He said, because there's no one left to cover it. Because we don't know who these people are, and it's terrifying. So
and there's no investigative journalists.
Well, I mean, so when you conduct a coup, the first thing that the coup plotters do is that they seize the means of information. They seize the radio stations, the TV stations, the newspapers. And that's what the right has done in America, only they didn't do it overnight. They did
And
it
social
over a couple
media.
of
They have
decades.
seized social media.
They have
I mean,
seized
you
the means of
cannot,
information.
you
Yeah.
cannot, it's an avalanche of, like on X, it's an avalanche of propaganda. You can't keep up with it. You can't counter it.
So the reason it seems to be not being covered is it's not getting out there because these outlets are not showing it.
yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I mean, it's and so here's a question, and this is going to sound meaner than I mean it to. So I'm going to apologize before I ask it. You left. I want to leave. Ted wants to leave. We had Matt Worker on last week, and he's actually been quoted now on the Cartoonist Rights Network because I asked him, would you leave this country? And he said, I'm going to stay. Good people will stay and fight.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, there are a lot of good people who stayed and fought who are a pile of ash in Poland and Germany and Czechoslovakia in the 1930s and 40s. So I don't know. I'm not sure I totally agreed. I respected the verve and the passion, but I'm not sure I agreed with it. What do you think?
So George Orwell and his friends were discussing, what do we do if England goes fascist? And there was actually a chance that it could have happened.
Oh, sure. Oswald Mosley and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were having the discussion: do we stay? Do we stay and fight? Do we leave? And it was left unresolved because England didn't go fascist. And so I think it's up to every individual to decide what you do. If you feel that staying and fighting is good, fine. I think that leaving and fighting is something to recommend it.
There was a Mosquito Coast. I'm not sure if you remember. It was a best-selling book and then made into a movie with Harrison Ford.
Great movie.
But there's a line when he moved his family to this compound. The story is to a compound someplace in Central America, Equatorial America somewhere. And he talks about visiting his mother who was dying of cancer. And he said, I just couldn't sit there and watch her perish. So I left. And I never saw her again. He was applying this to the United States. By the way, this film came out in the early 80s.
Yeah.
When I discuss you, and I have talked about you frequently to friends and family, it seems to me you're subscribing to the Mosquito Coast way of thinking, which is I just don't want to be there and watch it burn to the ground because it will. America's not going to disappear. It's the end of the American experiment. It's the end of the American as we knew it. It will still exist. But frankly, the timeline falls very well in with Spain, with Portugal, with England, who ruled and the Netherlands. They ruled the world. They ruled the world for 150, 200 years until they didn't. They're still around. They still have money. They still have lives. They still have great charcuterie there in Portugal. I mean, my point is that I think this is over, and leaving it is not a crime or anything to be looked down on. I think it's probably practical and pragmatic.
Well, you can't. No one can lead a revolution by themselves. I mean, you brought up the example of the rise of fascism in the 1930s, Scott, and the thing is that you can't, without an organized resistance movement, without a grassroots, broad-based, militant left-wing movement, you can't oppose fascism. We don't have those structures in the United States. We don't even have, the small socialist party that used to exist in this country 100 years ago. We have there's no left at all in the US, and there's therefore no means for an individual to join an organization where they could, find some strength in numbers, because there are no numbers, and the Democratic Party does not count.
So when I talk to my friends here and cartoonist friends in Europe, and I've been to some cartoon festivals where we're talking about politics, and they've told me, they said, you don't have a left in America.
Correct.
It doesn't exist.
They're right.
I'm right. Yeah.
You don't argue with them, I hope.
No, I said, well, you're right.
Yeah, and it's fucking bizarre, because we're the only modern Western country that doesn't.
I know. Well, money has a lot to do with it. Money is captured.
Money exists in other countries. They have money in France.
Well, just talking about Portugal is that people are better educated about this kind of stuff, and it's still a scandal when people cheat, when people take money. I remember. It was just in the last 6-8 months. There was a Portuguese prime minister, I think, who was caught up in some scandal. And I go, oh, let me see. This is going to be good. And I read it and I go, for that? That's nothing.
That reminds me of when I worked at the Grand Rapids Press for a little over a year. And when I got there, it was just like everyone was squeaky clean. I mean, that was just the whole point of living in Western Michigan, was that, the mayor, it was really, really hard to draw about local issues, because, he wasn't a scumbag. He wasn't, taking money from anybody. Damn it.
Yeah.
I mean, I always think of Tocqueville, right? For democracy to succeed, you have to have a well-educated, well-informed electorate.
Mm-hmm. No, we're
fucked.
That's the main reason that we're fucked. You're right.
Because we're stupid?
No, yeah. Uninformed. Ill-informed.
Ill-informed, same thing. Yeah.
Willfully ignorant. Also.
Oh, we have that one. I told you this thing was.
Oh, sure. Blame the system, Ted.
Always blame the system.
Always blame the system.
Yeah, there's nothing else to blame.
Oh. When you do
I love this cartoon. I saw this. Yeah, I saw this the other day. This is fantastic.
Let me get.
When you do a cartoon, we have personal favorites. We go, I like that one. So
this one, your personal favorites.
Amazing numbers come from, and I've been depicting Trump ever since this last election as speaking out of his ass, and so he's lying. All these numbers that he throws up about the economy are just lies. And if you go back and you look at the Trump economy, was that?
Yeah,
it works. No one calls him out. No one cares. The fact checking thing is a bust. No one cares.
They give him a MacGuffin because of the COVID thing for his last term, right? But if you strip that out and you look at how the economy was doing with Trump before COVID, it's still worse than the Biden economy and the Obama economy. I mean, by any kind of measure, it was not terribly bad, but it wasn't as good as Obama or under Biden. And you wouldn't know that from the way that Republicans talk.
Democrats generally have much better economies than Republicans do. And I guess Republicans could argue that the Democrats inherit them from the Republicans. I would argue with that. But let's look at a couple of Scott's, and then we'll get to mine.
Oh, do we have to?
Yeah, the worst ones. All right, here's one of these.
Oh, this is a very local. I mean, not local. This was first Smirconish, and so yeah, just and people were starting to blame the Republicans, because here's the thing, folks: if you run the House, you run the Senate, you run the White House, you're technically empirically, undeniably in charge.
Yeah.
And the American people see that. And that's what this cartoon was all about. I really just liked the very simple outline. If I can talk about the art of things sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because it's not like you can get, like, I imagine, I would have been like, oh, I'm going to go to a Google image reference. I don't think there's too many cartoons of too many photos of elephants sitting on their ass. So
no, they're mammals. They have much longer legs, so they actually sit like a dog or a horse. But I didn't like that. I just like the legs splayed, the big fat ass like plopped down, and the nerve of saying, "Don't blame me," and obviously Uncle Sam there.
I mean, they could obviously argue that the Democrats are the ones who refuse to pass a clean continuing resolution. But, the fact is the polls are the polls, right? I mean, the American people, their analysis was, Republicans control all three branches of government. You guys control everything. So therefore, everything that goes wrong is your fault. Yeah. And you're not willing to talk to the Democrats.
Or goes right, even. So, okay, let me ask Pat this. Maybe Pat can help in determining and deciding this raging debate within cartooning circles. When we had Matt Worker was on the other few episodes ago, and Matt draws Uncle Sam with a red and white striped jacket. I draw him in a blue jacket with a red and white striped vest and pants. Pat, where do you come down on the Uncle Sam jacket debate?
Well, this is like drawing Santa Claus, right? I mean, is he bald? Does he have a lot of hair? When you're a kid, you know exactly what
Santa has hair.
Santa Claus looks like, right?
Santa's not bald.
Well, some people depict him that way.
Wait, no, Pat, you're tap dancing. You got to make it. You got to take a stand.
All right. So blue coat, gold vest, red striped pants.
Okay. Ted?
I don't draw Uncle Sam.
Oh, right. I forgot. You don't do that.
Yeah,
you don't draw elephants or donkeys.
I don't do that. So let's keep going here.
This was a cartoon. I think if you're going to pop mine up real quick, which I was actually pretty proud of.
That's what I'm about to do.
This was the Illinois Republican Party, which is decimated. I mean, and now they're talking about doing the gerrymandering to get rid of even those few seats they had.
This is a great visual. I love this.
It really worked out well, and it was kind of fun to look at the anatomy, the skeletal anatomy of an elephant. It's fascinating.
Beautiful.
I kind of fudged on the bottom part, by the way, just so for the skeletal purists out there, for
the pachyderm skeletal crowd out there.
Yeah, but they keep running guys in Illinois, of all places, downstate, which in Chicago means any place not Chicago. And but these guys, the last guy was a total Trumpy. He's running again. There's a bunch of other Trumpy type guys. There's no way. Thank you. There's no way in God's green earth that ideal, that MAGA world is going to win in Illinois. It's just not. It's such a blue state. It's crazy. California the same way. They keep running these batshit crazy MAGA QAnon dipshits, and then they're shocked that their party gets more and more diminished. And yet they always find some idiot billionaire, which goes to show you we went into the wrong line of work, guys. Just saying. But there's some billionaire to hand over $10 million. That's the Illinois Republican Party. It's ridiculous. So Ted, what have you done this week?
All right, let me pull mine up here. Okay, we'll start with this one. This is obviously a response to the response to the Mamdani's election.
Insanely, I love that. Insanely conservative Democrat loses.
I mean, this is their, if you look at the op-ed page of the New York Times or the Washington Post and you look at these corporate Democrat columnists, this is their shtick. I mean, or, you watch them on MSNBC, they say the same thing no matter what happens. So that was my, and it's just like, well, at a certain point, why is anyone taking you seriously?
Well,
here's
the thing is,
this was about the retribution. Much has been made of Trump, Scott and I kind of talked about this, like, are we on the list? I guess, Pat, you thought you might be on a list. But it was like, at a certain point, it's kind of like, it's that I like to go, I do like to come at issues from the side sometimes. And it's sort of like, so, if, instead of being like, it's awful, he's out to get revenge on everyone, it's like, well, but do you really matter if he's not out to get you?
Yeah. But, there are people who will act on his behalf.
Well, that's Scott. You've been saying.
That's been my point for years. Is that I agree with you, Pat. That he'll come to Alabama and say, this Stantis guy, not a great guy, very mean to me, very mean. I can't do anything, but if someone did something to him,
yeah.
And then at 3 a.m, you get a knock on the door. That's my fear. It's not going to be the organized Gestapo. It's not going to be the brown shirts like Hitler had.
And they will come at you. They don't kill you first. What they will do is to try to shut you up. Yeah. And they do that by threatening legal action. They will threaten, and I've been threatened a couple of times to be taken to court, because of a cartoon. And they think that the threat will stop you. And if that doesn't work, then they're going to ratchet it up, right? But they want the whole point is to make you stop. The whole point is to shut you up.
I got sued by Blockbuster Video over a cartoon.
Did you really?
It dates the story. Yeah, they wanted $15 million, and so it was kind of great. I was worried.
You got to tell us the cartoon, Ted.
Well, you didn't turn back in the videos.
So right? He didn't rewind. The son of a bitch never rewound.
Be kind, rewind. I completely forget the content of the cartoon, but basically it boiled down to the fact that I had used the phrase right-wing Christian nutcase to describe the CEO of Blockbuster. No. And under classic libel law is impugning someone's mental health is considered under U.S. case law libel. Anyway, so I was sued. I had I was desperately poor when this cartoon came out. It was 1994. I was living in a squalid walk-up in the slums. I had TV trucks parked outside my apartment. I was scared to death. I couldn't afford a lawyer, so I went to court myself. The judge said, "Okay, so can you guys just step into my chambers?" And so he asks the plaintiff's counsel, who was from Skadden Arps, some white shoe firm, can you tell me how many political cartoonists in the United States have been successfully sued for libel or defamation? And it's like since the Palmer raids, I remember he referred to, and it's like none, Your Honor. And he goes, "That's right. And Mr. Rall's not going to be first. Get out of my courtroom." And it was over in 15 seconds. So sometimes wisdom prevails. I have one more for it to show, and then we can call it. We can let you go back to whatever you guys do in Portugal. Okay, so this obviously was about the shutdown, about Trump cruelly denying the supplemental. I mean, there's money allocated for this express purpose of paying for food stamps /SNAP. And he's like, no, we don't want poor people to have food. The 1 out of 8 Americans who receive these benefits. And then it occurred to me, this is a good opportunity for a fat shaming joke. So it was there's something about the guy. There's something weird about this guy, right? He's preventing fat people from visiting the United States on visas, and doesn't want anyone to eat, but he's fat.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, he's not. He's 215 pounds. That's according to
I weigh 215 pounds, and I do not look like Donald Trump.
So he looks in the mirror, and he does not see what he looks like. He just has no idea what he looks like.
Oh, there's no self-awareness there. But I have to ask you guys, before you put the cartoon down, I am curious because I couldn't get my hands around why the Trump administration was trying to deny the SNAP benefits, because that would lead to hunger in America. That would have starving people, and starving people are
many of whom are Republican voters, by the way.
I've recently been talking about Appalachia, and it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 75%, 70 to 75% of people in Appalachia are on SNAP. Trump got 64% of that vote. Now, what's his motivation to make people starve?
I grew up conservative, and I still remember some of this, is that they are being painted as people who are lazy. They're just not working hard.
But
they
it's
work.
not.
I know.
Okay, I'm just going to say, because it's a subsidy for Walmart employees in many, many places.
Yeah.
So so you think that's what motivated, is just Trump, the old line, conservative, fuck the poor, they're lazy, they don't deserve anything.
Yeah, I mean, he's appealing to people who are still pissed about the '60s. Women's rights, all the rest of it. Civil rights.
So
Wilfred Queens.
So would you recommend that? Would you say the water's fine? Come on over to Europe.
Yes, I
kick the dirt of the United States off your shoes and your drafting table and come to Portugal.
It's not perfect here, and there's bureaucracy you have to deal with, but they still treasure free speech and free expression. There's a friend of mine here in Portugal who was sued that was a police union. And she'd done this cartoon about police, and she was being sued, and it just got tossed out of court last week. Probably like you, Ted, where they looked at it and they go, no, we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
But they still do value press freedom. And so, yeah, I'd recommend looking at it. But before you do, look at it really hard.
I have French citizenship, so easy,
and
pretty easy.
So your mother was French, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could come here?
Oh, I have the passport. I can come anywhere. I can go anywhere to Europe. In Europe.
So my question is, why are you staying in the U.S.?
My kids here.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, family is the most difficult thing to work around, and I was able to manage because my wife is an angel. She's perfect.
Okay.
How did that help you manage ignoring your family?
Yes, that's what I want to know.
Well, we were both going to come over. If Trump won, we were both going to come over. She got her dream job at the university. And so we had to make this work where I come here and she stays there. But she comes out here every couple of months and stays for a few weeks. So we're trying to make it work that way. And it's not ideal. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. But we're making it work.
Where does she teach? Is that UU?
Speech and language pathology.
Oh, awesome.
But she teaches kids how to speak. I mean, she'll have kids who they just kind of grunt, and that's how they express themselves. And she will give them words.
Maybe she should contact the White House and talk to the
president. One last question, then we'll let you go, Pat. I'm sorry, but I've been saving this question, and it's simply this: if Trump were gone today, magically, magic wand, he's gone, would you move back to the United States?
Trump may be gone, but Trumpism is going to be with us for a long time.
Do you think it survives without him?
Oh yeah.
Well, what if there were a Democratic president who? Gavin Newsom is president tomorrow.
If there was a Democratic clean sweep and an overhaul of pretty much everything, almost a second American Revolution, then I'd be back. Okay. But that's asking a lot. That's
all right.
So Pat, where can we see your work?
Kegel.com. Salt Lake Tribune, still publishing my stuff.
And we can see the local work there as well, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Pat, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we really
appreciate it. It was good talking to you.
Appreciate it. Let's do it again soon if you're game. Everyone, we are here. Scott and I finally got our shit together. We are here at a regular time every Thursday, 11 a.m. immediately after the TMI show with me and Manila Chan. That's 11 a.m. Eastern time. We please follow, and share the show. We do appreciate your support and your comments and so on. And thank you for the kind things that you guys had to say in the Rumble and YouTube chats.
Thank you.
Scott, we are now entering the vocal talent part of the show, as you will now see, Pat. And Scott,
Okay, well, he mentioned
away
Spain,
we
so that's
go.
Spanish eyes, you're Spanish, your eyes, they're Spanish, they're Spanish eyes, dum ba 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 bum. Oh, Spanish eyes. I don't know the rest of the words, so say goodbye.
Bye.